Lecture 3. In this video, you'll learn how to utilize the cleaning step in Tableau Prep to perform a number of cleanup actions to prepare your data. These steps include changing data types, changing field names, filtering data, grouping values, replacing values, cleaning data, splitting values, creating calculated fields, and removing fields. Some of these options, like changing data types and field names, and filtering data, are also available in the Input tool, which we covered in Lecture 2. But there is good reason for these options to be available here as well. However, since they function very much in the same way, we'll cover them just briefly. We'll also see one of the biggest benefits of using the Step tool, and that is the data grid, which gives you a more comprehensive preview of your data. To get started, download the resources provided with this video and open up Tableau Prep. Let's connect to the Excel sales data and drag in the 2015 sheet. Then, perform a wildcard union to include all sheets. When you're ready, correct the data types. Change store ID to a string. Transaction date is a date and time field. And amount is numeric decimal. Next, let's add the cleaning step by clicking the plus icon on the input step and selecting Add Step. We can see the cleaning step is added, represented by a bar. Immediately, you'll notice some big changes in the canvas. We now see what is called the profile pane here. In this pane, each field in your dataset is represented by a card. The top of the card shows you the field name, the number of unique values within that field, a button to sort the data, and a search function to find a particular value. Each card shows you the values within that field, and hovering over a value, we can easily see how many rows have this particular value. For discrete data, the illustration in the card provides us with insight into the distribution of values. The length of the bar here indicates how often this particular value occurs in your dataset. We can also select any of these values, for example the grocery department, and see which associated values are in the other fields within the dataset as Tableau Prep highlights them for you. For continuous data, Tableau Prep will automatically create bins and show you the distribution of data across these different bins. For example, for transaction date, we can easily see that the majority of transactions were made in 2018. If you prefer to see the unique values rather than the binned histogram, click the drop-down in the card and select the Detail View State instead of the default Summary View. This will then show you all the unique values within that field. To change the name of a field, simply double-click the name of the field in the card. For example, we can easily change transaction date to simply say date. Similarly, we can change the data type with just a few clicks by selecting the data type icon and then the desired data type. Let's set date to date instead of date and time. Different field types have different cleaning operations which Tableau Prep can perform. Select any of the fields and notice how the contextual toolbar shows you a couple of options available just for that field. Additionally, you can find the available cleaning options by expanding the drop-down on each card. Suppose we only want to see data for 2018. Go ahead and open the drop-down on the date card and select Filter, then Range of Dates. In the dialog window, set the date range from the 1st of January 2018 to the 31st of December 2018 and click Done to apply your cleaning operation. One feature I love about this profile pane is the row count at the top left. Here we can see we currently have 5,000 rows. That is, after the cleaning operations have been applied to the data, we are left with 5,000 rows. To test this out, open up the Changes panel and remove the date filter we just created. You'll notice Tableau quickly re-examines your data and we now have 13,000 rows. The next major change on the interface is the introduction of the data grid, which you've probably noticed by now. It is shown here below the profile pane. The data grid simply provides you with a look at the actual data after all the changes have been applied. Let's try this out by quickly filtering your data so that only the baby department is included. To apply this filter, go ahead and right-click the baby value on the department card and select Keep Only. You'll notice the filter is added here in the Changes pane. And we see the row count has been reduced from 13,000 to 600 rows, and we can see the data in the data grid only shows rows where the department is equal to baby. Let's remove this department filter by clicking the X in the Changes pane. Suppose the retailer is going through some departmental changes, and now the computer department becomes part of the electronics department. We might want to group these values together then. Tableau Prep has an excellent way of doing so. Go ahead and select both computers and electronics by holding down the Shift key on your keyboard and then right-click and select Group. You'll now see just the electronics group with a little paperclip icon indicating the grouping operation. To amend the grouping, you can click the Edit button in the Changes panel, then select the electronics, which will allow you to select which values should be grouped within electronics. For example, we could add games to the electronics category. When ready, click Done to close the dialog window and apply your changes. In a similar fashion, we can replace values. Go ahead and double-click the Sport department and type in Sports Clothing and Equipment. And when you press Enter, all values in your dataset with Sports are now updated with Sports Clothing and Equipment. Just like that. Let's try another cleaning step on the Transaction ID field. Click the drop-down on the Transaction ID card to see the available operations under Clean. Click Remove Punctuation to remove the hyphens in the Transaction ID. It's all so fast and easy, you might need to undo your last change and do it again to actually see the differences this made in your field. Another great cleaning function is split values. Suppose we want to split the Loyalty ID field because the first two digits indicate the loyalty card scheme and the remainder the customer ID. Select the Loyalty ID card and from the contextual toolbar select Custom Split. Enter the hyphen symbol as the symbol to split this field by and set Split Off to All to ensure we get two new fields. One for the part before the hyphen and another one for the second part. Click Split to apply your cleaning operation. When done, you'll notice two new fields at the very start, Loyalty ID Split 1 and Loyalty ID Split 2. Let's rename these to Loyalty Scheme and Customer ID. Note that the original field, Loyalty ID, is still present as well. Since we don't need it anymore, click the drop-down and select Remove Field. Let's do a more complex action and create a calculated field. If you're a Tableau Desktop user, you'll be glad to know that this is very much the same experience as you'll have in Tableau Desktop. But doing it in Tableau Prep makes it easier to get a dataset nicely cleaned up and ready prior to even starting in Desktop. We've seen we have an amount USD field and also a discount percentage field. The amount displayed is actually not the amount the customer paid in store, which would be the amount reduced by the discount. Let's add a new field for the actual transaction amount. Go ahead and select Create Calculated Field from the contextual toolbar. Next, name the field Transaction Amount and add the following expression. Amount USD minus open bracket, amount USD multiplied by discount percentage, close bracket. When done, Click Save to apply our change, and indeed, the new field is added. You can easily validate your expression by looking at a real example in the data grid. For example, we can see this transaction had an amount of 1266 and that the discount was 7%. 1266 less 7% indeed equals 1177. This is yet another great example of the benefits of Tableau Prep, quickly allowing you to see the results of your expressions prior to running the entire workflow. And with that, we've come to the end of this lecture. In this video, you've learned the very powerful cleaning capabilities of the step tool in Tableau Prep. The great benefit here is that each cleaning operation is relatively simple, so complex data cleaning transformations can be done step by step, and the Changes pane keeps track of all of your actions. In the next video, we'll look at aggregating your data.